All right. Hello, hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome. Hi, everyone. Great to see you this Thursday afternoon. Lovely to see your faces. We've got some repeaters from our therapy break from earlier today. We're going to be in our chairs for a number of hours, looks like. We'll make sure and take some breaks.
So good to see everybody.
Yes, welcome, welcome. Okay, so as we still have a few people joining us today, why don't we go ahead and take this moment to rename ourselves. So that's a fancy function that Zoom offers, and you can do that by hovering over your own image. And then an ellipsis, 3 dots, shows up in the bottom or the top right corner of your little picture. You can click on that and then scroll down to find rename. And then what I'd like you to put is the name you like to be called, if that's your first name, or a nickname if you prefer something fun, and then the city in which you live. So I'm going to be putting Shannon in Santa Fe. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Just let us know if you're having any issues with finding that little function. Great. Most of us are obviously going to be in the Phoenix area, or Phoenix or Tucson. We do have someone here from Los Angeles. Miriam, if you want to just wave and say hello. Yeah, there she is. So we had a conversation last week, and it just seemed perfect timing for her to join us. And so she'll be our Los Angeles representative. Okay, let's see here. I am going to open my chat box. So at the bottom of your Zoom window, you might want to go ahead and just prepare. We love to have interaction during our workshops, and sometimes we have you speak, unmute yourselves and speak out, or you can contribute. Those of us who are more introverts in the crowd, we can use that chat feature. So hopefully you found that. You can just say hi. And okay, so we are missing a few people, it looks like, but we're just going to get going because we have a lot to cover. We're very excited to be convening with you in this space, this virtual space. Unfortunately, we did have to move from the live in-person event, but I think probably the best move, right, for everyone's safety. I'm still a little bummed out, but I'm so glad that we can be together in this way, and I think we'll still get a lot out of it. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself for anyone who we haven't become acquainted yet. So I'm Shannon Elliott, and I am the manager of what we call our In Sync network at PMD Alliance, and that is our support group leader network. And so I help to provide training and resources and support for those support group leaders across the country, because you're doing such amazing work in your local communities. So what we love is to bring you all together and then share resources and learn and just become stronger in that way. So nice to make all of your acquaintances. And we have 2 other staff members present from PMD Alliance. We've got Rachel. If you'd like to say hello, Rachel.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you guys today. Would have been great in person, like Shannon said, but it is great to see smiling faces because we would have had to wear masks otherwise. So that's one silver lining of this, I'd like to say. I'm community network manager, and I also facilitate our support group with PMD Alliance for care partners and adult children. So I'm so thrilled to be here and to have the folks that have come and very excited for the next 2 days with you.
Thanks, Rachel. And Kelly, hello.
Everybody. I'm Kelly, and I am the online programs coordinator. So if you've been on some of the NOLOs, you may have seen my little face box up there. and I'm happy to be here as well today. And if there's any tech issues or anything that you need help figuring out, you can send me a message and I will be a little bit more behind the scenes helping out with that type of stuff. But I'm happy to be here today because if you had been in person, I wanted to have been there. So
That is true. That is so
I'm
true.
the online person. So happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Very appreciative of all she does as tech backup. If any of you all have done Zoom meetings yourselves, you probably have experienced it yourself where you know it's so much easier to have someone else keeping an eye on all of the technical aspects so you can concentrate on facilitating. So we like to work as a team, and I'm just very appreciative of my colleagues. So we do have our 2-day session that we are starting. And did everybody receive the preparation email? And that had a PDF attachment. And so I had hoped that you might be able to print that out, just because sometimes the print is so small and there's so much text that it's almost impossible to read on a screen. So if you have that printed out, go ahead and have that next to you. And I can see Charlene there. She's got her pen ready to go to take notes. That's awesome. You can have blank piece of paper if you didn't have a chance. Great, Marilyn. I see that you printed out your materials, so you can have blank paper to take notes as well. And since this is, quite a long session, feel free, get your hydration, your glass of water, your tea, whatever you want. And if you need to take a bio break at any time, just go ahead and feel free to do that. We will plan one about 2/3 of the way through of our session today. So yes, here we are. I'm going to actually ask, I see that there's a phone who's called in. It's a 323 number. And I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself to let us know who you are. We just can't see a name or anything like that. So if you're able to do that, just feel free to say hello. Oh, great.
Hi, it's Miriam. My computer audio just wasn't working, so I did it by phone also.
Okay, I see. So you're both on your screen and your phone. Okay, perfect. That helps me. So I know to put you in the same breakout room.
I'm gonna rename her Miriam so we know. All right, that phone number. Thanks.
Excellent. And then Dave, we saw that you were in the car. Please stay safe and join us whenever you're able to participate. And Sheila and John and Phoenix, whenever you're able to join us via video, perfect. We just love to see smiling faces. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. So I've got my fancy new second screen, which is always exciting. And so I hope to keep everything straight. Good luck to me. So hopefully I am sharing my slide presentation with you all. Great. Okay, so welcome to our InSync 2021. Can you believe it's been 2 years since we had an InSync workshop for support group leaders in Phoenix? It's been about exactly 2 years, and here we are online, doing it a little bit differently. So I want to share with you first what I like to call our collaboration agreements. And so this is a slide that points out the expectations of all of us as we interact with one another, just to make sure it's a respectful and productive session, and just to make sure everyone gets on the same page. So you'll see here, first of all, we have to mute your mic when necessary. So sometimes we have that unexpected background noise, just to go ahead and mute that mic. But we do want to hear from you. We want lots of interaction. So we'd love you to speak and let us know when you have a comment or question. Just a reminder to listen deeply to one another as we hear each other's experiences. And then on top of that, if you happen to be in our previous presentation earlier today on improv, which was so fun with Robert Cochran, this phrase here, yes and, comes from the improv world. So you are hearing what others are having to say. You're saying, yes, I hear you. And I also think this, as opposed to saying, but, you know, and so you're trying to build on other people's ideas as we work through this workshop. Here, moving with intention. I love our roller skating girl, or I'm not sure if it's rollerblades, if it's from the 90s, possibly. So moving with intention, it's surprising how quickly these sessions go. So just being conscientious of sharing and, you know, making sure that everyone has a chance to speak. And then finally being patient with me, the person using Zoom, and with technology, Zoom itself, and then Kelly, all of us who are working hard to try to make this as smooth as possible. We know things happen. So if by chance you get knocked off the Zoom call, go ahead and come right back in, and we'll resume. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Okay, so these are the agreements that we are going into this workshop together. And we will start to talk about, and I just heard my email, so I'm going to close that. Now that I know everyone's here, I always keep my email open in case anyone has trouble getting into the Zoom, and you might be doing that yourselves as you run Zoom meetings. So if any of your group members are having trouble accessing, you just want to keep your email open until it's safe to close it out. So hopefully we won't be hearing those dings anymore. So In Sync, why is this program for support group leaders called In Sync? And there's actually several ways in which we can be in sync. And the first one is to be in sync with your peers. So we're coming together into this workshop, and we want to learn from one another. We want to be in sync and hopefully help each other. We also want to be in sync with our group members, right? So these are the folks who are looking to us for guidance or for support, for resources. So we really want to be in sync with them and hearing what their needs are and adjusting. We also want to be in sync with the larger movement disorder community, right? So that would be national, that would be international. So there are so many research organizations. We want to stay up on all of the newest information. So we want to be constantly working to stay up to date on all of that information. We want to be in sync with our loved ones, with our friends, with our family members, because we are sharing this journey of having a movement disorder together, right? We're not alone. So we want to be in sync with them. And then finally, last but not least, is to become in sync with yourselves, just to really go inside and start to think about who you are as a person, as a human, and then as a support group leader, and what's special about you and what do you bring to that role, right? So I like to begin our workshops just with that question of what does it mean to be in sync? And then from there, I like to demonstrate not just through words, but also with our bodies on what it's like to be in sync. Yes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you don't know me and you have not been warned yet, I am a Dance for Parkinson's person. Yes. So I actually did the Dance for PD training, and I'm a dancer from decades ago. And so I love to move. And I think that's so important for us in our movement disorder journeys. So I love to start off our workshop with doing a little bit of movement. And so there's a special exercise that's called mirroring. So it's as if you are looking into a mirror, which is your computer screen, looking at me, and then you are going to mimic or mirror all of the movements that I do. And it's just a really fun way to start to get in touch with one another. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to spotlight me as I prepare my speaker. So I'm going to use music, and we have let's see. Sorry about that, Rachel. I did a little switcheroo and clicked on your face on accident. So I want to turn on my original sound, which helps the music come through better. And so with our mirroring exercise today, I want to add kind of a special element. So depending on where you live, and most of you are in Phoenix and it's super hot, I don't know how much time you're spending outside in nature when it's 100+ degrees, but what I would love us to do is really think about things that we love in nature. What are some aspects, you know, whether it be the flora, you know, the different trees and flowers, animals we might see, different kinds of weather that we experience. So I want us to use that as our improvisation foundation, right? And so I'm going to play a nice song, Debussy, a beautiful French composer, and if I can get that to work. And then I am going to begin this mirroring exercise. So I'm going to scoot myself away from my computer a little bit, my desk, and I would like you to do the same so that you have a little bit of more space, especially for your upper body, to move and express yourselves. Yep, so give it a little bit of a try. Just make sure that you're not going to knock over a lamp or your glass of water. There you go. Sometimes it just feels nice to breathe. Why don't we actually do that? So we're going to breathe together 3 times. So take a deep inhale all the way up. Deep, 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 deep. And exhale, float those arms down. Good, same thing, but float your arms to the front. Deep inhale, all the way up, and exhale out. And then last time, floating from side to side, inhale. And exhale out, arms down. Good, shake it out, shake it out. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I'm gonna find my song. I'm gonna just start to play it, and I would love you to follow along as I explore in my imagination some favorite parts of nature that I have. Lovely. I would love to see a volunteer who wants to lead and we can spotlight you and follow you. Who would love to try that? Your favorite things in nature. Can I see any hands? Judy. All right, so if we could please spotlight Judy. Here we go. Following her. Thank you, Judy. One more volunteer. Who wants to give it a try? A brave soul. Anybody? I can't see everyone at the same time.
Harry, you wanna oh, you don't have to unmute yourself. We'll spotlight you.
We'll spotlight you. Perry, here we go. All right, we're following you, Perry. Beautiful. Thank you so much. How lovely was that? Wow, great. So we've taken the spotlight off of Perry, but now this is something to note. If you ever spotlight someone as a host, you have to have everyone in your Zoom room go back to gallery view, and you have to do that manually. So you're gonna take your mouse and you're gonna go to the right top corner and look for view, and then click on gallery. And then we'll come back to the main room. Does everyone see all the little Brady Bunch boxes now? Are we good? Can I see a thumbs up? That helps me to know that you've heard me and that you understand. Okay, great. So if you ever need help, feel free to unmute yourselves. Wow, okay, so how did that feel? What was it like to have a little, I don't know, a peek into Judy's mind, into Perry's heart? He put his hands to his heart, which was very, very sweet and endearing. Anyone want to comment on what that was like? Any thoughts?
Marilyn, you want to unmute yourself?
Looks like we're not hearing you.
How
There
about
you
that?
go.
There you go.
Well, to me, it was very personal. That we got to see what Perry was thinking and Judy was thinking and you were thinking, and it made me want to be there. And I felt
Right.
a lot.
Yeah, you wanted to see
Beautiful.
what was in their minds. I know. With Judy, I felt like we were going down a river, maybe kayaking.
It was very
Something.
personal.
Yes, yes, yes.
Monarch butterflies.
Butterflies. Isn't that so interesting? But it was
I
still
thought it was the ocean waves.
Oh, no.
So the
No.
interpretation is still there, but yeah, we still all had a lovely experience. That's neat. Miriam, I see your little hand is up in the corner.
Oh, not
It
sure.
was fascinating that you just watched people's nonverbals and you felt the energy very different from each one of you. It was fascinating. With Perry, I felt like a very heartful connection. And then with Shannon, I got a lot of energy, and Judy, I felt very like calm and peaceful with.
Great comment there, Miriam. I think that's perfect. And it's a great segue for what I want to show you next. So I'm going to share my screen, and we can talk about what are the benefits of doing an activity like mirroring. Yes. So as we see here first, it builds presence. We have to be here and now, right? We have to really be paying attention and awareness of those nonverbal cues that Miriam just talked about, right? It enhances the emotional understanding and empathy for others, you know? So we were connecting to each other in different ways and seeing different qualities come out. And I love how a simple exercise like this encourages cooperation amongst people, concentration, you really have to pay attention, right? And creativity. So though anyone who's leading has to really see in their minds what they are imagining and go there and then express it through their bodies. And then what's great is using both sides of the brain. Yes, so it's great for people who are living with a movement disorder, right? And for care partners, just to have fun and to really relate to one another. So I encourage you, and this is a question, I would be interested to hear if you would feel comfortable leading an exercise like that in your group. Yes, you don't have to have, you know, a career in dancing, you know, like anyone can do this. And so I would encourage you to do these things online, in person. You can do breakout rooms, one-on-one. You can go around and popcorn, have different leaders, just like we did. So I'm just encouraging you to utilize these activities to bring something new to different kind of engagement in your groups. Okay, so I am going to move forward to our famous little ecosystem infographic here that is the basis for our philosophy and what our mission here at PMD Alliance. So Rachel's going to talk a little bit about that. I just wanted to see show of hands. Is anyone really new to PMD Alliance and you don't know exactly what it is that we do? So we've got 2 hands there, 3. Okay, so we're going to just do a Miriam. Yeah, we're going to do a tiny little overview of who we are and why are we different than other nonprofits.
Great. So this is an ecosystem. So essentially, this is an organization that works with not just the person who has the disease themselves, but we really, really focus on those people that are just one layer outside of that person with Parkinson's, whether it be in their family network, in their companion or friend network, or their community network, and that's what we're focused on. So we are basically trying to enhance these other networks that surround the middle person with Parkinson's to better their life quality, give them bigger, better connections with people, and in turn live a more full and great life through this disease. So you know, there are big organizations that really focus their money on researching the cure for Parkinson's. And we realize that there are people that need help with resources and information and support while they're living with the disease. And so that's really what our focus is in our organization and throughout all we do. We really, really focus on bringing that more full life to the person with the disease and the people that surround them, that care for them.
Thank you, Rachel. So hopefully that's resonating with you. And of course, you know, you all as support group leaders, you have such an important role and bridging that gap between resources and information and providing that for your group members. So you are vital, you know, to this ecosystem. And so we have this particular program called In Sync just for you, because we know you need support, you need one another, and that's why we're here. So thank you for all coming and understanding that your roles are so important and wanting to further yourselves in that. So thank you. Let's see here. I just wanted to check. Great. Okay, so Rachel put that in the chat as well if you're ever interested to look at this infographic later. And next, I want to take a little poll. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to activate this poll from my end. And there are 3 questions that I'd love you to each respond to, and it's going to be on your computer. So I'm going to launch that poll now. Hopefully you can all see that. The type might be really small, so hopefully you can read it. The first question, what do you want to prioritize in your support group meetings moving forward? Yep, so right here, right now, what are we in? We're at the end of August 2021. We've been through a whirlwind the last year and a half. So what do you want to prioritize? Do you want to prioritize education, having guest speakers come onto your meetings, emotional support and sharing, or a combo of the above? So you can take your mouse, you can click and choose. I see some people are starting to respond now. That's great. Question number 2, how important is it that your group members know one another? Really important, kind of, or not at all? Is that not a big part of your group? And then lastly, what makes your group gel, your specific group that you've been involved with? Is it sharing those cookies and coffee? Is it the casual interactions before and after meetings? Really deep discussions that happen during the meeting, or social activities outside? So this is, I see 4, 5 people, 6, great. We're starting to get more responses here. If anyone is having trouble, just let us know, but we'd love to just see.
It looks like everybody has answered.
Oh, great. Okay,
it says
perfect.
100% on all the questions.
Okay, maybe it's a little slow on my end. I'm only seeing 80%. So perfect. Thanks for letting me know that. And yes, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results, hopefully. Great. So from my end, it only shows 86% participation, but we get the idea that a combination of education, guest speakers, and emotional support is important. That's good. And then, yeah, it's interesting that 5 people are really focusing just on that emotional support here. And then as far as knowing one another, it is important to you. So that's just something to note. And it's like, what is it that we can do as leaders to make sure that that happens and we can facilitate that connection, that getting to know one another. And then lastly, the third, it looks like the casual interactions, those social moments that happen before and after meetings are kind of important, are they? So what does that even say? Like that the before and after is more important than the middle, you know? So maybe leaving more time just for people to chat. So just kind of start to think about that and framing as we go through the rest of this workshop together. What's important to you moving forward? I'm going to stop sharing this now. Okay, so I thought that's kind of a neat way to get to know each other a little bit, just to see where we're all oriented as we move through this workshop together. Okay, so I'll share my screen again, and then we can look at some of the things we're going to be covering. We have a lot to cover. So today we're going to do, after this, we're going to introduce ourselves to one another super fast. We have to get through it. So I have a plan for that and how to make that happen. We're going to talk about the importance of connection within our group, and moving from fear to growth. Okay, so we'll get more into that as today moves forward. And then we're going to have a roundtable. So that's actually going to be in about a half hour. We're going to have some guests, I guess we'll say. So people who are partner reps from the pharmaceutical companies. Since we can't be in a real space together in the room with having our sponsors to meet. Thank you. Looks like we had a little bit of an echo there. Then we're inviting the reps to come to our roundtables to participate in small groups with us. So it's just a nicer, more human way to get to know who they are. And then they are wonderful resources for you as support group leaders when you would like to have them do a presentation or bring a doctor to your group. And so the more you know who they are and get connected, the better, right? So we're going to be providing that information, names and the companies of these people for you afterward, and you can contact them as far as whether you want them to be involved with your groups. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's the roundtable. And then day 2, tomorrow, bright and early, 9 a.m., we're going to be talking about wellness and the path to wellness. And I'm going to show you a really fun model of multi-dimensional health, it's called. We'll do another roundtable with different questions, really engaging. And then we're going to talk about how to make our support group meetings more dynamic and more interesting for our group members to keep them coming back. All right. Okay, so who are we? Who are we here in this room right now, in this virtual room? I need to... Yes. Okay. So this is what I'm calling popcorn introductions. And we want to make this purposely very quick. Popcorn, from one person to the other. And this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to ask you these questions here. We want to know who you are, your name and your city. That might actually be in your little label, which would be helpful to have. The kind of support group you lead, whether it's care partners, a general group, that kind of thing. And then the fun nugget that I'd like you to share is something that you're excited about. Just one thing that you are excited about right now. It can be personal life. It can be related to your support group. And I would like you to accomplish this in 2 breaths. And that's how we keep it short. And so this is also something you can utilize within your groups. If you have something that you want everyone to share, but you don't want someone to talk for 5 minutes, then see if you can kind of frame it in this way, 2 breath share backs, right? So we'll see how it works. And we're going to popcorn, which means if I start, I'll say my bit, and then I'm going to choose someone else. They need to be ready to unmute themselves, and then they're going to speak. They will pick the next person. So we're going to model this for you. I'll go, then Rachel and Kelly. And then we're going to popcorn around the room. And once we get to a point where we don't know who's been, we can do a little raise your hand if you haven't gone to help that person popcorn. Okay, so here we go. Deep breath. My name is Shannon. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am the manager of the NSYNC Support Group Leader Network. And one thing I am excited about is my brand new hummingbird feeder that I have outside of my window and I get to enjoy. Rachel, popcorn to Rachel.
Hello, I am Rachel. I'm in Phoenix, and I facilitate our care partner and adult children support group. And one thing I'm excited about is I just got back from a 2-week trip back east to visit all friends and family from where I'm from. So thank you. Kelly?
Kelly, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I coordinate online programs for PMD Alliance, and I'm looking forward to a cooling off in fall. And popcorn over to Laura. I think
You
you're
got to
muted,
unmute, Laura. Unmute.
Much better. Thank you so much. My name is Laura Cohen. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I am an owner of an assisted living home, actually 2, in the Phoenix metropolitan region. We are specializing in working with Parkinson's residents. So that's where I'm excited that we're going to be joining forces with PMD to service Parkinson's families, and excited to be here. I guess I'm going to popcorn Doc Marilyn.
Hi, I'm Doc Marilyn, family practice, Tucson, Arizona, recently retired and diagnosed with Parkinson's. And the thing that I'm looking forward to is playing with my grandsons.
All right.
And who do you pass it on to, Marilyn?
Oh, I'll pass it on to John Goulet.
John Goulet, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, I'm John Goulet, and I'm the newest board member of the Green Valley Parkinson's Support Group. And I'm very excited about, well, actually, I'm from Green Valley, obviously. I'm excited about the tools that have developed during the sequestration. This Zoom tool is a great thing, and I'm looking forward to expanding it in the future. And PMD Alliance has sort of pioneered the way as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be a part of this group. And I'll pass it on to Charlene. I'm sorry, Charlene, yes.
I'm Charlene Osman from Green Valley, which is south of Tucson. And I've forgotten the questions. I'm excited about my sister and her husband visiting next month. And I am the president of the board of the Green Valley group and also the leader of the partners group. And I will pass it on to John from Peoria.
Hi, I'm John from Peoria. I lead a couple support groups at assisted living facilities in Peoria. I own a senior placement agency that helps people find places like Laura's. And I also work with the Parkinson's Foundation for their advisory council. I'm on their board of directors. And I will popcorn it over to Fran and Anthem.
Hi, I'm Fran Adelson and I'm an Anthem. I don't know how I got in this group because I am not a leader. However, I am part of many support groups and I promote Parkinson's and raise money for Parkinson's. And I'm looking forward to it getting cooler so I can start hiking again, which is why I moved here in the first place. So. Oh, and I will popcorn over to Dave.
Yes, hi, I'm Dave Cook from Scottsdale. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, and I'm excited about my daughter. Just mentioned that we're gonna have another grandchild, so looking forward to that. I'm also into hiking, so I've done hike rim to rim across the canyon 31 times. Organized 2 a year, organized 2 trips a year, so stay active. And I'll popcorn to Perry.
Hi, I'm Perry Heilman. I live in Sun City, Arizona. I help facilitate 2 or 3 groups that are now on a virtual basis. What I'm excited about is what gets me going is just mixing with other folks and finding out where the passions are. And I miss that. That has always been the highlight of my week, to be at the support groups in person. Look forward every single time, and I'm looking forward to getting that back again.
Okay, who do you popcorn to, Perry?
Oh, let's go with Sheila.
Thanks, Perry. I'm Sheila Smith. I'm from Tucson. I'm also logged in, or I was previously as dog lover because I was having audio problems, but I think I'm working now. I had to change to a different laptop. My husband and I are planning to restart the PD Pals support group here in Tucson. And I'm excited that I just completed one of my bucket list items, which was taking a stand-up paddling class. And I will popcorn to Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy from Sun City, and I'm like Perry. I facilitate a few different support groups, mostly for PD and care partners and whoever else is interested. And I'm excited about this thing that Laura's doing. I've been looking for organizations that focus on Parkinson's in terms of long-term care. So good job, and I hope to hear more about that.
And who do you pass it on to, Judy?
Who's left?
Raise your hand if you haven't gone.
Carolyn, Miriam, and Lotta.
Carolyn and Benson.
Hi, as I said, I'm Carolyn from Benson. I am a licensed professional counselor and a yoga instructor, and haven't started my group. So that is what I'm excited about, is starting a PMD group.
Wonderful. All right, you want to popcorn to?
Oh, and I popcorn to Hamleta.
Thank you. My name is Hemlata Desai. I'm from Phoenix. I don't lead anything. However, I hope in my Indian community, I can start a group for support and to do some education kind of thing, because the community is too small and too busy to be in a family life.
Thank you, Hemleta. I think we have Miriam.
My name is Miriam, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm a social worker. I work for Kaiser, and we're looking to actually start support groups with different patient populations, including the caregivers and the patients themselves. And I'm excited that I found PMD because my mother had Parkinson's for over 10 years, and her decline has been pretty bad recently. And I'm looking for support as a professional, but also support on a personal level. So I'm excited to merge those two.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I think everybody went. Yes. Wow. So we have quite a variety of folks joining us this time, and it's great. That's how we're going to have rich discussions, learn from one another. We've got brand newbies and we've got veterans all in the same room. So this is going to be a wonderful workshop, I know. Thank you all. And we got through, all of us, in record time. So I think that's a nice prompt there, the 2-breath introduction. So keep that one for your groups. I'm going to start sharing my screen again, and we're going to move forward with some of the content for today. All right, so the big question of the year. What is our new normal, right? What does that even mean anymore? How do we start to conceive of this idea, especially with so much change in the world? And I feel like, is there a little bit of a, okay, maybe the echo went away. For us as support group leaders, what does that mean for us? Our new normal and how we're going to proceed with trying to keep engaged with our group members, right? You know, it's already such an isolating disease. People don't get out, they don't interact as much as they should even before COVID, and then the pandemic hits. So this is just how I want to start framing just big questions as we start the workshop. Let's see here. Okay, so I just wanted to share this quote with you. Charles Eisenstein, I don't know if you know him. I think of him as like a modern day philosopher. He's a teacher and a speaker on many different themes, consciousness, human evolution, etc. So he says, we sense that quote unquote normal isn't coming back, that we are being born into a new normal, a new kind of society, a new relationship to the earth, a new experience of being human. So I'm just wondering if that resonates with any of you. So with each passing day, we are more and more people are acknowledging that this COVID era is going to bring about permanent changes to our society. And we don't know what that means yet, right? I know there are a lot of different angles, different perspectives. We have people in business and commerce looking at it at a certain way. We have science looking at it in a certain way. Culture, sociology, how are we going to gather as human beings and be together, have community? So there's so many questions out there. And, you know, I don't know about you, I was so excited, middle summer, vaccinations were happening, people were starting to meet in person, and then boom, the Delta, right? So shoot, we're having to close back up. We're not meeting in person. We should be together right now. We're not. And so these are a lot of questions that we're going to have to continue to grapple with, and sometimes not know answers, but be able to adapt, right? And that's the name of the game. It's flexibility. So there are so many different ways people are talking about this idea. So I've heard this coined as the next normal, and that's really coming from a business world perspective. They talk about the next normal. And then I hear people talking about the new normal as maybe we shouldn't go back to normal. Like normal wasn't working for a lot of folks. You know, there's a lot of people left behind and not getting the care they need, that sort of thing. So they're talking about it more as like we should be thinking about a new paradigm. How can we make those changes to make society better, right? A funny one, the new abnormal, you know, is anything ever really normal, right? And so we're just going into a different phase of whatever that is. And then I've seen a funny tote bag recently that said, no one is normal, right? Yeah. So it's just this concept that we need to start to think about, and how we as support group leaders are going to move forward and change and adapt in the best ways possible to help our people, right? That's all we can do. We can't control COVID. We can't control a lot of things. So let's think about what we can control. Let's see here. So this is a question for you. What do you think the challenges, the specific challenges of the pandemic have been for the movement disorders community? You know, what were we facing specifically? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see each other's faces. And I want you to, from your perspective, share what this means to you. What are those challenges that you've been facing? Someone living with a movement disorder or a care partner, how have you been affected?
John, would you like to
I see-
unmute yourself?
Yeah, in my case, I was cut off from folks that I normally associated with, and especially ability to be able to exercise in a group. I really sort of identify with my tribe at the gym that I go to, and to suddenly lose that was really very difficult to deal with. And I was so happy to get back into the gym, and now we're kind of wondering if we're going to be able to continue. Because it's to me it's motivating to be able to exercise with a group of people that you know and that you trust, and especially people with Parkinson's that you know you can identify with
and be rooted on by, right? It's that camaraderie. Oh gosh, I totally understand. I think most of us would be nodding our heads as a yes. You know, it's not as fun to work out in your living room, right? So thank you for sharing that. I see. Let's do
Miriam's hand was up,
Mhm.
and I saw Fran's hand up. So after Miriam, Fran, and then Charlene. You're unmuted, Miriam. You can speak.
Okay, I think the biggest challenge is isolation, and even from family, especially grandchildren that aren't getting the vaccine. And I see that social isolation really affecting mental health and anxiety. I know my mom sometimes calls me like 15 times within an hour just because she's bored. and that I think builds the anxiety. And unfortunately, anyone struggling with any sort of movement disorder, she can't go outside herself. She can't do anything. And I just think the isolation is sometimes even worse than the illness she's struggling with.
Probably things are exacerbated, it seems like. You know, the isolation and then the anxiety, they just start to compound.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been hearing similar things, Miriam. And yeah, that mental health aspect is so impacted by this. Thank you for sharing that. Who was next? Was it Fran?
Fran and then Charlene. Thank you.
So I was just going to say, for me, it was isolation because I had just moved to Arizona from New York right before the pandemic happened. So I didn't even have friends or were in no support groups or anything else here. But so what I did was, because I am a joiner and I'm a very curious person, I started to take classes online at Zoom. I started to join Zoom classes, not just Parkinson's, but other things and other interests that I have, because I needed that connection to people. And also through that, I ended up in conversations with people where I was around, I didn't know if anybody else had Parkinson's, but I ended up meeting people that had Parkinson's that were just in groups that had nothing to do with Parkinson's. So for me, the isolation was the worst, but it was also the ability for me, because I'm so used to being such a busy all over the place person, to be quiet a little bit and explore other things that I've been interested in my life, and see what stuck and what didn't stick, and give myself the chance to not like something if I didn't like it, or if I like to keep doing it. So I had some positives out of it personally also in that particular area. So
thanks for bringing that up, and we'll address that too, Fran. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Charlene. Looks like you're still muted there.
There we go. Within our support group, the challenge has been reaching those members who don't have computers, you know, that can't join us on our Zoom meetings. So that's been real tough on us.
Right, not being able to keep everyone engaged. So hard, right? And yeah, like phone trees, it's possible to coordinate those personal calls. It does take time. And, if you don't have a large group or many volunteers, then the responsibility lies on you as the leader. And, that could be hours on the phone. And so, yes, it's those folks who don't have access, right? And moving forward, I was excited people were going to be back meeting in person again, and then here we are, not so. So what does that mean moving forward for you, Charlene, and for anyone who has group members who aren't online, who aren't on Zoom, who don't have that technical know-how, whatever the barriers might be? So those are things to start keeping note of, and how do we move forward? So thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have anything to add before we see 2 hands? 3, wow, let's do Perry first. And we'll need you to unmute.
Yeah, for me, and just defining normal to me is always meant to be the average of the extremes. So there's never a same normal. It's always changing. And to me, it's just the ability to adapt, keep your ears open, and find ways to make a new way. It's just things are constantly changing, and I'm always ready to adapt.
Yes, Perry, you are wonderful for that, and you're just hopefully going to help us underscore that adaptability, flexibility in this time is the name of the game. So you're embodying that, and thank you for, just for being a positive example, a living example right here. And we had, I think Dave, I saw wave his hand. Is that?
Yes. For me, it's been, someone already mentioned isolation, but also the physical touch, which we know produces dopamine. Competition, being able to, I stopped playing racquetball now a year ago. So, I enjoy racquetball, I enjoy the competition. Our Grand Canyon trips, we still did them, but they were limited as far as how we did that. So those are the kind of things, people aren't getting outdoors as much. The vitamin D, I just read an article about vitamin D being less in people with Parkinson's, and they think it's more because they don't get out as much. They don't get outside and get the vitamin D that they need. So anyway, those are a bunch of things that come to my mind.
Yes, thanks for that, Dave. I think that your note about physical touch is a big one. It really is. Some people don't like hugs. Some people I know, but this actual workshop, we did it 2 weeks ago for Northern California. It had a different title. The title was From Zoom to Hugs and Handshakes. So we had to change the title of this workshop because that's not happening anymore. And that's just what we were really hoping that we could be moving into is that physical touch, that, being able to put your hand on someone's shoulder, I'm here for you, all of that. And that's a huge loss that we have all felt. So thanks for that, Sheila.
And then I saw Carolyn's hand up before we go on to the next topic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well, as usual, I always end up echoing what all the previous speakers have said. So I'm doing the same thing here. My biggest challenge, I think, this year in terms of the support group that my husband and I want to get started again is under the isolation thing that everybody's been talking about, and also about the lack of physical touch and hugs, because we lost our support group leader, not to COVID, but to another disease. And we were not able to attend a memorial service or a funeral for her. And it's been very difficult with all the members of the group not being able to grieve together. And we haven't been meeting. It was previously a face-to-face group. And when COVID started, we did not change to Zoom online support group meetings. We were kind of in the process of talking about it. And then our support group leader got ill and we lost her. So that's been my biggest personal challenge, and also a challenge for our group.
Wow, that's a big one, isn't it? Not being able to get together to have those rituals, whether they are funerals or graduations or weddings, or, you know, it goes in all directions, right? But not being able to celebrate someone's life like that. And wow, it's like this, it just doesn't kind of come, it's hard to move forward, right? When you don't have those rituals to help you do that. So thank you for bringing that up. I think we've all probably experienced that this past year in some way. So hard, so hard. And then I think we had one more person to share before I have one slide, and then we're going to move to our roundtable with our guests. Carolyn?
So for me, it was echoing Sheila, was not being able to see people or have other people come and see my mom. She died a year ago, June. And the other hard part was before she passed, as she was declining so rapidly, when the nurses started coming in with the mask, that really changed the dynamic of how caregiving was, or how her relationship was with our caregivers. And that was really hard to see for my mom, because she sometimes didn't know who it was underneath. I mean, for all of us, taking half of our face off, but when someone's declining cognitively, that really was hard for her to figure out who was coming through the door.
Absolutely. And you lose all of that nonverbal communication as well, which is like 90% of communication, I think, is in the nonverbal. It's so difficult for us to be able to understand one another. So like Rachel said, at least with the Zoom workshop, we can see each other's faces and we don't have to cover up our smiles and, you know, struggle with that. So yeah, thanks for bringing up that point. And I also like to say too, if you ever have a chance to meet with your group members outdoors and you can space properly and you can take those masks off and try not to wear the sunglasses if you can, and have that face-to-face communication, expression, sharing that we have all missed so much, just because it's so like fulfilling when you finally get to do that. Thank you all so much for the sharing. I have one quick slide to finish this little module up with before we move forward to our roundtable. And I see we have our guests who have joined us, so welcome. I am gonna show this quickly. Okay, so we were just talking about the challenges of the pandemic, and I wanted to also a little bit like Fran was starting to get at was what are the silver linings of the pandemic? What are the things that we have gained, especially in the Parkinson's and the movement disorder world specifically? So I have a list here of some things that I took note of, you know, so some research has moved forward, hasn't it? We have some new medication options. There's always, you know, new discoveries happening. Our wellness standards seem to be going up in some way. We're looking at the whole person a little bit more, the mental health. We're really emphasizing some of these things. Telehealth, I think that should be in like, you know, bright red and flashing, because that is huge, right? And across state lines, all of these regulations. So hopefully, fingers crossed, some of these things will stay in place moving forward into the future. Consumer trends are crazy. Amazon and shipments and, you know, mail being late and all the crazy, you know, things are just changing, right? But we can access certain products that maybe we couldn't have before from home. Creating community, we're trying to do that right now through our Zoom and make these connections, and we're all not in the same place, are we? So that's a silver lining. Like I said before, the sharper focus on the whole person, holistic, multidisciplinary care, trying to be more inclusive and looking at the underserved parts of our communities, or at least asking those questions if they haven't been reached yet. A lot of them haven't, but at least we're starting that conversation. And so I think that's a silver lining, and like in global awareness as well. So so much happening in the world, and it's it can be distressing, but sometimes it's good to look at the positives and to see what advancements have been made, and then think about what do we want to keep from this time period? What has been working for the last year and a half that we want to keep? I'm going to stop sharing. No, I'm not. I am going to move to the next slide. And then, oh no, I'm not, because I had to skip over a bunch of things because we had so many good things to talk about. So I am going to move forward in my slide presentation to our roundtable discussion. And that will happen now. Okay, so now that I'm there in my slideshow, I know where I am. I'm going to welcome our guests who've arrived in our virtual room. So I see Leslie, Andrew, Matt, Allison, and Melinda. I think you're all kind of on my screen in the same little clump. So since Leslie came first, we'll have you start, but I did want to let you all know, since you're just arrived, I did kind of tell the group, our support group leaders here, who are mostly based in Phoenix, Tucson area. We have one person who's out in Los Angeles who is joining us today. That you are our partners, and we couldn't do these programs without your support. We love to connect you all because it's so important that they, as support group leaders and their support group members, know who you are and know what resources you can provide them, as far as getting doctors to come talk, as far as understanding the options that they have for devices, for medications, for rescue, for whatever it is. And so that's why we're here, is to connect you as human beings. So thank you for joining us. I will be providing a list of your contact information and be providing that to the support group leaders after the workshop. And so they can contact you if they want to have you do a presentation for them. Looks like everything's on Zoom or online at this point. So hopefully you're open to doing that and not just in person. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Leslie. If you'd like to say a little bit about yourself, where you're located, the company you work for, whatever you're able to talk about. Yeah, just great to have you.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. Well, good afternoon. I have to compliment you for finding a solution to a recent change we've had with our COVID impact. And it's so refreshing to see so many individuals still engaged and finding ways to support our community and our patients. And Charlene, I can give you a wave. I think you and I are going to be together at the end of the month. And Sheila, I'm in Tucson locally. So I'm with AbbVie. The therapy, the intervention that I represent is Duopa, which is an enteral suspension of carbidopa-levodopa. I'll save some details about that after I share with details about Duopa for those of you that may not have heard about it. But first, let me just share my background. I'm a native of Tucson. I have been with AbbVie for about 11 years, supported a lot of therapeutic areas, spent about 5 years of my career in leadership as a manager, and then was inspired to come over into the Parkinson's space, largely because of my experience when I was a young mother. My oldest child was born very premature. I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when he was 10, and he didn't walk until he was 7, started school in a wheelchair. And it has always been a goal of mine to be an individual contributor to make impact with a patient where you have a very strong care team and community behind that patient. And this is really the first therapeutic area that I've supported where I feel like I'm making that direct impact. And that really was my inspiration for moving out of my leadership role and coming into an individual contributor, especially in the neuroscience space, where with our intervention, I'm able to interact with the patient, with the advocacy groups, create care teams. And I've been doing this for about 4 months, and I can see myself doing this for the rest of my career. That's how passionate I am about it. I do have the entire state of Arizona, with the majority of the movement disorder specialists, as you know, in Phoenix, and I also have Las Vegas. And so I'm able to work really closely with the Cleveland Clinic out in Las Vegas. A very different market, very different patient population. They still say they're the wild, wild west. They learned a lot from us in Arizona. But that is kind of my background, my passion, what drew me to this particular therapeutic area and the territory that I cover. So Shannon, I want to make sure I'm respectful of the others that are joining us. How much time would you like me to spend just giving a brief overview of the therapy?
So probably 30 seconds to a minute.
Perfect. Okay. So Duopa is an advanced intervention that is, like I said, carbidopa-levodopa. It is an enteral suspension, which means that it is delivered through a medication port directly into the small intestine. It does bypass the stomach. It is a 16-hour continuous infusion of the gold standard of therapy, a more potent version of the therapy because it is a gel formulation. And it's really intended for that patient who has tried oral medication, maybe even tried some rescue medication and is still experiencing off-time dyskinesia and really impact their quality of life. Certainly, we have a very strong care team in all of the in Phoenix and in Tucson with a proceduralist who will place the medication port. And I look forward to having the opportunity to educate your advocacy groups. So certainly I would love for you to reach out to me, not only to help me learn, but also for the opportunity to get to know you and your patients. And that's
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming today. Okay, next on my screen, I have Andrew, who's in Dallas and works for Abbott. Hi there.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and wow, how wonderfully aligned actually you'll get to see my tiny little product overview for you to be. If you don't mind, I actually have a couple slides to show the faces of our salespeople who are here to support and help with the introductions, if you don't mind me sharing screen.
We normally don't do that for the roundtables.
Okay.
Is there a way just to introduce who they are?
I
Perhaps?
can absolutely do that verbally for you. So
Thank you
locally we have, no worries. Locally we have our sales partners, Melinda Nash, and we wanted to share a couple things about ourselves as well to help you get to know us. So things about Melinda is she has a love for hiking, biking, and tennis, being outdoors with her husband and her 3 kids. She has a love of fitness. Believe it or not, she's summited Kilimanjaro, hiked to Machu Picchu the long way, and she's finished a full Ironman triathlon. So amazing accomplishments by Melinda. And I think you'll notice something about all of us at Abbott is we all love to be active and live our fullest lives. And it's what we look forward to supporting people living with movement disorders like Parkinson's. Another great thing that Melinda does is she has a nonprofit, it's called Small Town Big Dreams, that supports education fundraising each September with a cycling event in Wilcox, Arizona that brings people from all over. So any of the PD Alliance people who like to cycle and want to be involved in helping raise money for sending underprivileged people to college, that's an amazing active event to get involved in. My other partner, Elle Bennett Soto, a couple things about her. She's a licensed speech pathologist who loves the clinical side of caring for people living with Parkinson's disorders. So she has a lot of experience in speech, swallowing, and we know that the holistic care of people living with Parkinson's disease is extremely important. She's also a person who's similar to me, loves the environment. So she encourages us all to reduce, reuse, recycle. And she loves the outdoors, of course, when it's not above 110 degrees in Arizona, and volunteers with horse therapy programs. So if anyone's out there interested in getting involved in riding horses or being therapeutically involved with horses, Elle would be a great contact for you. And she's looking forward to the end of this pandemic so we can all travel and see each other in person again. Last but not least, a little bit about me. As you can see up in my background, I love Legos. So it's what led me on my career is to become a biomedical engineer. And my role here at Abbott is our National Strategic Accounts Manager for Digital Health. So speaking of telehealth and the pandemic, our products, I don't want to waste too much more of your time, we have implantable brain stimulators, so pacemakers for the brain for people living with Parkinson's. And for those of you familiar, it's a wonderful way to help make medications more effective, smooth out your on-off fluctuations. We're a very proud, again, passionate company about helping people live their fullest lives. And all of us appreciate the ability to bring you quality service and care. And the newest update to our system actually allows you to have your remote control run on your own iPhone. And then if you need to have an adjustment, you can host a virtual visit with your doctor. So as part of the pandemic, we raced to update our software to enable people living with DBS to virtually connect, manage their therapy, and be cared for. So hopefully, again, we can get a chance to connect with you in person as soon as it's possible. We'd love to share more about our therapies and help you stay connected.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you coming. And Melinda, we see that you're connected, looks like via phone. So I'm not sure if we'd be able to see your face or not. Melinda, I don't know if you're able to answer. Are you capable of participating in a breakout room today?
Yeah, she may have been just finishing a clinical call. She was texting me a little bit earlier.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
hence why I was prepared with some photos. I mean, I can show photos of faces, you know, I appreciate, yeah, you don't want it to be an advertising event, but truly a round table. So.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you both for being here. Yes. And I love how you mentioned that silver lining about your technology and how it's progressed during the pandemic. So, great. Welcome. Okay. Let's move over to Matt. Hi, Matt. If you want to unmute yourself, you can let us know who you are, who you work for.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Matt Demore, and I work for Boston Scientific. I live in Phoenix, born and raised here. I've kind of lived all over the state. I went to school in Flagstaff and ended up back here in Phoenix, and just happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us. So I work for Boston Scientific. Prior to Boston Scientific, I've been here for about close to 3 years. I was at, used to be called Health South. It's now called Encompass, and got the chance to work with a lot of Parkinson's patients, and just had the opportunity to see what a neat group of folks this is, and how everybody's got the same focus in terms of, you know, let's get a cure for this, but in the meantime, how can we help, you know, as everyone has already said, live better lives. So Boston Scientific has deep brain stimulation as well. And really that's the main reason for DBS, is to kind of help with the motor symptoms of Parkinson's. So the stiffness, the slowness, the tremor. Kind of one thing that's unique about ours is our rechargeable battery. It lasts 15 years and it's very small and kind of out of the way, and patients tend to really like that. So I'm happy to talk more about that in the future. If you ever want to be connected to any neurosurgeons or movement disorder docs here in Phoenix and in Tucson, we have those connections available, and the doctors are always more than willing to talk to support groups kind of about the ins and outs of what surgery entails, and then once the implant is done, kind of what that looks like moving forward. But again, thank you for the opportunity, and look forward to being in the groups here.
Thanks so much, Matt. I am sending you my email address right now. And so if you want to email me back, I don't have yours. I have everybody else here, I think, your emails, but then I can include you on my contact sheet.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. All right. Hi, Miss Allison. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So I'm Allison Miller. I am with Supernus. We used to be US World Meds. We have Apicin, which is a self-injection for Parkinson's for off episodes. We also have Xadago for off episodes and dyskinesia, or without troubles in dyskinesia. And we have MyoBlock for sialorrhea or excessive drooling. But I just want to say that I'm really happy to be here. I love the community. I'm really involved in a lot of the projects, but I'm just really happy to be able to get some feedback and participate. So thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Allison. And I'll say just a little plug for this coming Monday. We have another InSync online training for support group leaders, and it's for it's basically a guidebook. It's like a toolkit for support group leaders to help with having their group members take part in like a creative experience. And this is really coming from Allison. It's called the I Am Poem Project. And so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time right now talking about it, but just know that that's happening at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. If you're interested to learn about that, it's a really interesting creative project for your group members to participate in. So just wanted to plug that. Allison will be there. Okay, so now that we have introduced everyone, I didn't miss anyone, hopefully. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment so that we're all on the same page as far as what we're going to be doing during our breakout session. What are we going to talk about? Okay, so hopefully you can see this. So during our roundtable discussion, we're going to be breaking up into groups of 4 or 5 people. And we'll have, 16-ish minutes to talk, maybe a little bit longer. We have a little bit more time today to talk as small groups, but I have 2 questions that I'd love you to address with one another. So what do we miss the most about getting together in person? And then secondly, what pandemic era invention do we want to keep? Or maybe there's more than one. So we're kind of looking at the challenges again versus what are those silver linings? What do we want to keep? What do we want to throw away? All these things. And that's going to be helping us move forward into the workshop, especially a little bit later. Rachel's going to lead us in an activity. So this is just going to get our brains flowing. So when we move into our breakout sessions, if you could please select someone in your group to be the leader, and that person will take notes. Okay, when we come back to our main session, our main group, we'll share back with the rest of the group and come up with just some great ideas moving forward. And we'll take notes for you in the main group and have that accessible after the workshop is finished. And I think someone was asking about having a slide. It might have been Miriam. So I will provide all of the slides presented today and tomorrow to you all in a PDF format. So you don't have to worry about writing all these words down. Just really concentrate on interacting and connecting with one another. So I am going to take the 2 questions and I am going to write those or type them in the chat, I hope. Here. I've got 15 windows open on my screen right now, so that's always exciting. All right, so hopefully you have that in front of you. The breakout rooms, the way that they work, Kelly is thankfully helping me with that today. And it's all going to be automatic. You're going to just zoom over to that breakout room. I'll give you a halfway notice just so you can kind of keep track of time, make sure everyone has a chance to talk. And then you'll see a little warning that says room is going to close in 30 seconds. And then zip, you're going to get moved right back automatically to our main room. So just don't get caught off guard by that. And I hope you have a lovely time speaking with one another. Can I see your thermometer? Your thermometer, if you understand, if you don't, yep. Okay, everyone's good for the most part. We've got some bunny ears. I'll have to interpret that. Okay, so Kelly has the magic button and keeping our fingers crossed, we all get to where we need to go. Make sure to take notes and we'll see you on the other side, everybody.
Let me get you in there, Charlene. I think you rejoined while I was, let's see. Assign. Oh, here we go.
All right, everybody's making their way back.
Excellent. Hopefully you don't feel pixelated. That's what I always worry about. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that was a good session. We had some nice discussions in there. We are going to go room by room, and our leaders will give the feedback, or the sharebacks rather, of the highlights, things that you talked about. And so we will start with room number 1 that had Allison, Charlene, John, Miriam, and Sheila. So who is your group leader, please? I see Allison talking, but we don't hear you.
You're muted.
Probably better that way. I was saying I wasn't the leader, I was just the note taker, but we had some good discussions. I think out of the 2 questions, the second one really got us talking more. I think maybe because COVID, But as far as what we miss most about getting together, they were saying, maybe has it gone over some of these already, but isolation, the personal touch, loss of touch with people who can't join, just some of the members, human connection. And then we got to the pandemic era invention, and I think we had some good stuff there, more so silver linings from COVID. But as far as the inventions, the Zoom and being able to expand into like your support group into other areas, and reaching underserved communities. And then also having we're hoping to keep that and have some in-person lectures where people can still join in from Zoom. So that was a positive. And then as far as silver linings, the connecting with nature, lots of creativity, which has been really awesome. Lots of more of getting outdoors. One of the women writes a letter once a week to someone in her group, which I thought was really great because everybody likes getting stuff in the mail. And then the ability to have telemedicine during this time so that they could go to see the doctor and the PT and other doctor's appointments they had. I was saying as a mom, that's been really amazing too during COVID. So yeah. Oh, and for people who can't drive, things like that, the Zoom was good, but mostly the silver linings of the creativity and the outdoors and connecting and meetups in person.
Meetups, more small group or one-on-one kind of thing.
Yeah, just meeting up like at a cafe or outside or doing something outdoorsy together.
Lovely. Excellent. So you've got those 2 categories, which we're kind of delving into, right? The hard parts, but the things that were good that we want to bring with us. So thank you. Thanks for those notes, Allison. And we are also taking notes to provide the group after the workshop is over. Thank you. Room number 1. Excellent. Let's go to room number 2. Carolyn, Doc Marilyn, Fran, and Matt, please.
I could be our spokesperson. Not sure.
Oh, thanks,
Or,
Matt.
Marilyn, would you like to?
Let's see, you're muted, Marilyn. Not yet. Let me help you. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then a button will come up on your screen. There you go.
There we go. Well, I think we all agreed on the first question about what we miss the most, and that's touch and actually feeling the person's presence. It's not the same. You're missing that 3rd dimension. We can see each other on Zoom. We can hear each other. You're flushed. We know you're hot, but we can't feel you're hot. So I think we all miss that, like I said, 3rd dimension of our being. Everybody else chime in from the group if I forget anything. Like Fran said, it was hard for her to meet new friends, and that was even more isolating to her or as much isolating to her because she couldn't actually meet the people. To get on the Zoom to have the 2-dimension feeling. And the second question, I think we all agreed about telemedicine and computers, that You know, it's so great, so enabling to be able to get in touch with your doctor, either as a parent or the patient, and say, what's this rash? You know, what is it? The doctor can see you more efficiently, depending on how good they are with computers. But the big holdup, like Fran mentioned, was not everybody has a computer. Not everybody's computer literate, even if they could have a computer, and not everybody has Wi-Fi access. So those are some barriers that definitely need to be overcome. In the future, we thought maybe Big Pharma could come up with some type of GoFundMe page or something to help people get computers or get teaching in computers, or have a place where they can assemble to do non-urgent medical work in private. Did I forget anything? I think that was the gist.
Yes. Okay. You're getting some thumbs up from your group members. So that was great job there. Thanks for those ideas. Yes, the accessibility aspect is such a hurdle for a lot of folks, and whether it's they can't afford the technology, or it's not having Wi-Fi if they live in rural places. You know, there are so many things that we need to look at. You know, we've made a lot of headway in certain areas of science and technology, but then, you know, a lot of people are left behind, and that's not fair, right? So maybe our partners can help us brainstorm ways to look at some of these issues. Thank you very much. Group number 2. Let us move on to 3, which was Andrew, Dave, Judy, Laura, and Melinda. Who
Yep,
was
I
your
was the note taker. So team, would you like me to be our spokesperson? All right, I'm seeing nodding by Judy and Dave. There's some thumbs up. So I think we're coming to the point in terms of agreeing with most everybody, right? Judy gave all the same stuff, right? Touch, the loss of loved ones, and not being able to grieve in person. So we have a lot of overlap there. Judy did share a really interesting, unique insight for her. She, prior to pandemic, did a 23andMe search and found a number of relatives that she didn't know she had. So she started to be able to connect with them. But of course, right, when you're first getting to know somebody, Zoom is great. We can chit chat. We can try to get to know each other, but small talk, right? It's not the same if you're not sitting side by side. It's hard to share those boxes of photos or trinkets and things, right? So that 3-dimensional existence of ourselves, I think Judy very much relates to. Dave similarly related to the physical touch aspects, and he recognized he's a very competitive, physically fit person who is playing lots of racquetball, which helped us start to transition actually a little bit before the halfway point to talking about some potential positives. Judy shared that up in Sun City, there's a very active and competitive pickleball group. Laura had helped share that pickleball is maybe another nice socially distanced alternative to racquetball because it's played across the net like tennis. And there's apparently lots of places in the area that are converting tennis courts to pickleball. So it's quite the coming rage. I've been told about it from some of my friends in Miami, and Judy promised if I get into the city there, I'm gonna get some lessons from her because it's a great way to exercise and maintain balance. I think then in terms of, you know, things and innovations we like and we want to keep, Dave helped share that, you know, again, with the online connections, he was able to start a face group live exercise group. So remind me again, Dave, it's Thursdays and Fridays that you do your exercise group?
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 5:30 a.m. But
There
it's
you go.
on
Okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're a morning workout person, look up Dave on Facebook. You can join him for the morning workout and get your day going. So he's open to others joining him. So I think, you know, again, great way for those who like to be physically active to connect. Judy, similarly, right? We all acknowledge Zoom is the big invention of allowing us to better network around the world. And Judy has met more people than she thought she ever would have before this pandemic. Laura, of course, helped guide us through recognizing, yes, the Zoom and online communications. We all appreciate telehealth, and selfishly for us at Abbott, we're really glad to have brought that to our devices to help people connect with their clinicians, manage their Parkinson's. And even post-pandemic, we're going to keep that alive. We've been working with the Michael J. Fox Foundation and others. So we appreciate all of your help writing and keeping the pressure on our legislators to keep the laws in our favor. Because once we get back to travel, it'll be nice to still have telehealth to check in with our doctors in case we need it. And last but not least, Laura shared another personal favorite of mine because I'm a big giant foodie. Online grocery service has been a wonderful silver lining of the pandemic. Being able to get our groceries, Laura with her, living support homes and people that she's helping to manage living with Parkinson's, it's nice to be able to have food delivered and not have to worry about the unsafe conditions of being in those dirty grocery stores.
Thank you. Great reporting back. Yes. And I concur. I actually went to some of those meal kit companies during COVID. I did give that up, but that was so nice. Oh my gosh. You just have those fresh groceries delivered to your door.
Well, and you can keep the recipe cards, right? So now if you're shopping on your own, you can still make those same great meals.
It's true. It's true. So yes. Lots of great ideas. The pickleball is something I've heard about as well. Keeping the nation. Really great. Thank you. Group 3. We have one more group, looks like, which was Himletta and John, Leslie, and Perry. Who is your spokesperson?
Yes, I'll go ahead and share. So this came directly from Perry, and it's something that resonated with all of us in terms of what we miss. And he said, "I'm not Parkinson's, I'm Perry." And the symbolism behind that is that you lose that sense of not only connection when you're in a live setting, but really that relationship that you develop before or after the group meetings, where Parkinson's does not define who you are. That is a sliver of your current state, but it's not who you've been or who you will be. And so that really is a perfect metaphor for what we all just kind of just called the connection of really understanding what others are about beyond their disease. That's what we miss most about being in person. The other thing we talked about was similar to what Andrew just shared, was about the group exercise and the energy that is generated in a group dynamic when you're all working toward a common goal, or you encourage each other when you're feeling maybe not your physical best that day, and just that energy that is generated collectively together. That's something that definitely is missed, and we look forward to that hopefully in the months to come as COVID potentially subsides, that we'll be able to do that again in that type of environment. And then the third, and this again is got to give kudos to all of us, my team, for that ability to be able to actively listen when you're together, but also empathetically listen. And the active and empathetic listening is different when you can see body language and facial expression and true authenticity in someone else, because you can feel that viscerally in person versus when you're doing it through a virtual platform. So those are the 3 things. And then to Andrew's point, the thing that we missed the most, we thought was a great invention, was the online grocery delivery and just the convenience of having DoorDash, Uber Eats, and being able to still support local businesses and enjoy a meal that is either your favorite restaurant or we don't have to cook ourselves. So certainly that's something that we've definitely all appreciated and will continue to take advantage of, even when we go back to maybe 100% capacity. So that's it.
Excellent. Yes, really good points there. I'm curious, I don't know, I know we live in different places, different areas, but I know some restaurants that started to go back to in-person service stopped doing delivery because they couldn't handle both. And so it's really interesting, I don't know if in your areas it seems to be worldwide, but restaurants can't really keep up with the demand. So there's just so much fallout from the pandemic, and it just reaches us in different ways. So we'll see with that DoorDash delivery thing and food and all of that convenience that we were offered during the pandemic. So wow, yeah, and the thing that really is coming through for me, hearing all the groups is that kind of X factor energy thing that we miss. We can't feel that through the screen, right? It's that in-person conductivity, is, for lack of a better term. It's that transfer of energy that we feel in person that we are really missing. I totally agree. I am, yes. So fingers crossed that things will turn for us. But until then, it's still very important that we engage our groups. We don't let people fall through the cracks. How do we manage that? So let's keep that in mind as we move forward to the next parts of our workshop today and tomorrow. We are right at the top of the hour, so we did very well with our roundtable timing today, and I just want to thank our guests so much for joining us. Leslie and Andrew, Melinda, we have, where's Allison? There she is, and then Matt. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to participate in our roundtables, and it's great that you were all the spokespeople today too. So, or Matt, he offered as well. Yes, we will be providing your contact info to these lovely support group leaders so they can be in touch with you, and we just really appreciate your partnership in allowing programs like this to happen.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so leaders, we have an opportunity to take a little bit of a break. Does that sound good? A little bit of a bio break and stretch your legs, get a glass of water, that sort of thing. And so how about, since it just turned 2 after, how about we take 8 minutes? 8 minutes, so at 10 after, it's 4 o'clock for most of you. And we'll come back and resume. Does that sound good? Thermometer, is that enough time? Okay, excellent. So you can go ahead, and if you want to turn your video off, that lets me know you're not at your station, at your computer, and then at 10 after we will resume. All righty. So just as you keep through, everybody, and we will continue on. So I kind of spliced the last module right in half-ish to allow for the timing of the roundtable to be what we needed it to be for our guests. So I'm just going to go back to where I left off slide-wise, and we can continue with some content here. All righty, so sharing my slideshow again. All right, so we're back to this idea of new normal. What the heck does that mean? Here's another quote that I wanted to share with you that was spoken by Robin Sharma, who is a premier speaker on leadership and personal mastery. So Robin says, we have a normal, and then as you move outside of your comfort zone, what was once the unknown and frightening becomes your new normal, right? So that might sound familiar to you. So as we are required to shift and grow because of all these outside influences, things that we can't control in the world, things that were once challenging and potentially scary to us, eventually becomes part of our everyday experience, part of our lives. And so if we look at it that way, we can intentionally move from a space of fear and anxiety into a space of learning and of growth. So I wanted to share with you all today a model that I came across in my research recently. This actually was a webinar that I attended almost a year ago, if you can believe that. The National Wellness Institute is an organization that I really respect, and they have a lot of free resources. And I just kind of liked the way that they put this out there. So as you can see, the question is, who do I want to be during the pandemic? And then they have these three kind of concentric ovals here. There's a fear zone, which we want to avoid if possible. And then next step would be in the learning zone. And then this growth zone is where we are hopefully moving toward. So during COVID, I'm not sure about you, but you might have been surprised by people's behavior, I wonder. So people in your close circles, even, strangers, or maybe even your own behavior. Were you surprised by things that you, the way you reacted to certain events? And so some examples might have been hoarding toilet paper. Anyone here? Are you going to admit it? Paper products were a hot commodity, yes. And so there was a lot of hoarding going on of strange foods and things like that. People tended to complain, they were maybe forwarding information to people in their network that may not have been accurate. And then, letting their fear and anger overtake them and get the best of them. So that's fear zone, right? So here are some identifying behaviors of people in the learning zone. So starting to identify your emotions and kind of taking stock of them, verifying information before you share it, realizing that people may not be acting their best, but acknowledging that they're doing is the best that they can, kind of having a little more grace. Stop consuming things that hurt you. Okay, so hopefully you're kind of getting a sense of what that learning zone might look like. And then over here in the growth zone, this is where we're ideally moving toward, we're in that place. Showing gratitude, finding ways to adapt. I think Perry was talking about that. That's where he lives. Maybe Perry is in this growth zone all the time. Using your skills to help others, being in service to others, showing empathy, and having grace for yourself and for other people. Finding a purpose, that's a huge one, and we'll get more into that in the next day or so. So I wanted to kind of give you this picture as we move forward and look a little more closely at these three different zones and start to think about, where are you right now? Where are the people you love? What zones are they living in right now? So let's start with the fear zone. So here are some more examples of behaviors or feelings when you're in this space. So panic buying, being very easily annoyed or frustrated, again, hoarding or stocking things when it's not necessary, crying episodes. So letting those emotions overtake you, where your emotions actually start to get into your body. And so you might just start to have headaches or lots of stiffness and stress, constantly worrying and obsessing about things, taking too many precautionary measures, maybe when after you've learned that maybe that's not necessary. So that's that fear zone where we want to see, are we there? Acknowledge it, or maybe we're there in some places, but not others. Let's move on to that learning zone. What does that look like? So starting to release control, realize that we do not We can't control what's happening sometimes with COVID or things across the world, international problems, things that are very stressful. So deep breathing, meditation, realizing that what is that? It's serenity prayer. Realize what you can't control and, have to let go of those things. Stop consuming what isn't good for you, whether that's food or substances. Sharing positive and empowering information with others instead of just sharing those things that are doom and gloom. Talking about your feelings freely with those you love. Keeping yourself engaged. Who was that? I think it was Fran who was saying that the silver linings of COVID for her were looking into some of her other kinds of interests and exploring those, taking that extra time you might have during your day to explore those things. Not creating a dependency on caffeine or drugs or alcohol. Keeping your body, brain, and soul healthy with good quality food, nutrient-rich food. Wishing the world and all people well. They call that metta meditation of just wishing everyone well, and that energy that we've been talking about and helping to spread that positivity. I know it's very Santa Fe woo-woo, you might be thinking, but this is the world I live in. And so I'm always wanting to impart that on others. I think it's true. I think it exists. And I think probably most of us agree with some of these things. If you are a support group leader, how important it is, your energy and how you put yourself out there in the world, how much that affects others. And then exploring new hobbies and enjoying them. So again, learning zone. Do these resonate with you? How about growth zone? Finding new purpose in life, whether that's self-oriented or community-oriented. So finding new purpose in your support group work or other volunteer work. Practicing gratitude. Does anyone here have a gratitude journal? Or maybe you have a gratitude practice where Sheila, yeah, Carolyn, yeah. So gratitude, it's such a simple thing, but there's so much research that says that if you practice gratitude, you can change your brain and make yourself happier and more joyful. You start to see more positive things in the world on a daily basis. It is a real thing. Focusing on the growth of self and others. Finding those new hobbies. Yes. Working on getting your groups back together. Helping others again, and then living in the present instead of being apprehensive about the future, like the anxiety about the future or depressed and sad over the past. How can you be more present in yourself on a daily basis and taking those moments of like, be here, don't be worrying, don't be, anxious, that sort of thing. So I am going to stop the share and I want to do a little poll. It's just a simple one question poll, but I want to see in this group right here, right now. Where are you? Are you in fear? Are you in learning zone or in growth zone? All right. Most people have clicked in, got a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of people in the growth. That's wonderful to see. So I don't know if maybe, yes, it's probably Miriam's phone. So she's not going to be entering a vote from there. So this is our result. So this is, I think we're doing pretty well. And I'm curious to know as well, if anybody feels like unmuting or writing in the chat, have things been fluctuating for you as the news has changed and Delta came and we thought we were in the clear and then now we're not? And like, do you kind of go from one stage to another, one zone to another? Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Sheila, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Well, I kind of feel like part of my own mindfulness journey is that I try to always want to engage myself in lifelong learning anyway. So I'm reluctant to not ever choose the learning zone but if we could do like a hybrid of both learning and growth, because I think to truly grow as a whole human being, we all want to continue learning throughout our lives, I hope.
I completely agree. Lifelong learning is a great way. If we don't have curiosity, like it's hard to find purpose sometimes, and just being interested in things and continuing to learn and be better. I love that, Sheila. Carolyn, I saw your hand. You want to unmute? There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to say, and I just typed this out, is I wish I could have chosen all three of them, because at different times of the day or the week, I could see myself in different aspects of each of those three groups. Hearing the numbers rise right now puts me in that first part, and yeah, opening up my new business and being able to be more of a service to my community puts me in the other group. And then actually paying attention to myself and learning what that means for me. Again, I can see myself in all three different aspects at different times.
Yes, very honest. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And what I wanted to mention too, and it maybe is obvious, but we're all talking about ourselves here. But if we think about applying this to our group members, so our group members are going to be in any of these three zones, and they might be shifting all the time as well, right? And so just to kind of keep remembering that, but it's that self-awareness piece of kind of like, okay, where am I today? And if I've gone back to that fear mode, what can I do for myself to help bring me out of that? And whether that's talking to a loved one, meditating, gratitude, whatever these things are. So I just want to kind of put these little things in our brains as far as like, how do we move away from fear into that growth space? I saw maybe another hand or two. Let's go Judy first, and then we'll go Fran.
Well, I think I kind of got obsessive compulsive about the third phase because I've taken on several projects that I probably never would have done otherwise. And I've got two people I do what I call phone palling with. And I just kind of went a little crazy with the third phase.
Overboard. Was it the helping others part of it?
Yeah, a lot of that. I think, in my age group, a lot of folks don't understand technology, and I happen to be reasonably good with it comparatively speaking. And so, I got involved with helping to set up support groups on Zoom, and then we had a texting group to check in on each other, and then that became a kind of a who needs help when type thing. And I organized people to go to people's houses and help them with different things. And wow. I just kind of, one thing kind of led to another. And I don't know how to stop myself.
Oh goodness. Yes, so you're definitely a helper, Judy. So
you can't do it. What else is there to do? So
yeah, but the overextension of yourself, you have to be careful of that, because then you can run dry and get burned out, and then you're like, I'm quitting everything. We don't want that.
No, I know. So, but it's kind of it's not who I ever thought I'd be. So.
Oh, interesting. And then look, here you are. I've been myself working on boundaries. What does that mean? What does that mean for, home life, and then work, or then, friends? And so, boundary kind of, I don't know, exploration, and see where it is, where, okay, this doesn't feel good to me anymore. And it's taking the love out of it. And maybe to start to ask those questions so you don't get it overextended. Interesting. Fran, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I identify with Judy in that way, is that I ended up overextending myself really to a point where I volunteered for so many things. It was just, and so I backed off. I kept the things that I decided what was important to me. So yeah, even with COVID, you can still overextend yourself. That's so, and then also with what Carolyn said, I think that really what you said really resonates, because I think all of us, no matter how we feel about ourselves, there are going to be times where I am going to be fearful. Like she said, I hear the numbers, and in that moment, my body goes like this, and I go, no, like calm down. That's not, and so I have to like reframe. So I think that that's growth. You know what I mean? So you can, as long as you can look at your own emotions and your reactions, that in alone is growth, rather than just living in that fear all the time. So, and having Parkinson's has taught me that.
Wow. Well said, Fran. Perfect. Harry.
One way I've always tried to live and to think is that, and I don't know who gets credit for the quote. I don't know who said this originally, but one of the only constants is change. And it's going to happen all the time, whether it's on our own personal lives, with our own health, or what's going on around the world. And I kind of expect it. And the first thing I do is look for ways to adapt to it and try to overcome it. It's an ongoing process. And yeah, some stuff, hit you sideways, and then you go, well, it's gonna change again. So I just try to keep aware of that all the time.
Absolutely. I love hearing each of what you said and back to back. And I think, yeah, I mean, we are, as humans, we are, animals, we have nervous systems, we have amygdala, the part of our brain that's like warning, and it's trying to take care of us and save us. Right. And so that's the freak out that we experience. And so, but we do have the ability to see that happening and make choices, and we have tools. And so aren't we lucky that we're able to use the breathing techniques and, utilize our support system and meditation and all of these things, and have that awareness of mind to make a different choice. And then, yes, it's natural for us to respond in these fearful ways. That's nature. But we have the ability to help ourselves, which I'm, so glad to have learned some of these tools over the years. And so I think that we have an ability as leaders to help our people learn some of these things. Sometimes they don't know about them, and we can be a part of having them live more easily, with more comfort, whatever that might be for you and for them. But thank you both for those statements. Anything more before I move forward? I think we're all it feels like we're all on the same page. So I just appreciate all of your input here. I'll share one last slide before we move to a little activity to round out our day. And this is a very wordy slide. It's, lots of bullets and words, but that's so that you don't have to take notes. It'll all be there for you when I send the PDF. And this is a slide of bullets that you can share potentially with your group members if you feel like that's appropriate. And it's a little bit of a guide. These are things that we can do to help us move from that fear space into the growth space, the gratitude, helping your community. And so just another resource, another list of things that can be utilized to help folks getting into that healthier space. So I think that we can move forward, Rachel, to the activity. And so I am going to move this slide. Oh yeah, I'm all messed up in my order. So I apologize. I'm gonna stop my share and
okay. I will begin a little bit of a introduction to this activity. So you guys have a piece of paper that was printed in your collection of papers that has above the line, below the line on it, where it's a blank piece of paper with a line in the middle of it. And if you don't have that, then please take a blank piece of paper and put a line right through the middle of it. And this activity is, I think, connected to a lot of what we spoke about today. Boundaries is one of the words that was brought up in this last activity where we spoke about, you know, maybe you are doing too much. Maybe all of the helping that you're doing is not great for you personally after you might get burnt out from doing. So what this activity is basically a way to prioritize the things that are really important to us and kind of start maybe removing some of those things that are taking up our time but aren't as necessary to be thinking about or using our brain space for, or our time and energy. So here we go. So on your piece of paper, draw a line through the middle of it, which I am sure that you all have done. Okay. Now, above the line, write down the aspects of life that give you energy. So positive things are above the line. What things do you want to keep in your life? What are your goals? It could be something as simple as pizza. You know, you want to continue to eat pizza. Are there books? Are there activities? Are there things that you do that make you feel good? Those are the things that should go above the line. Then below the line, you'll write down things in life that are draining to you. It could be people that are draining to you. It could be activities that are draining to you. Things that you want to release, things that are not serving you anymore. Now, be careful and pay attention to the things that are close to that little middle line. Those are often things that are taking up a lot of your time, but aren't necessarily negative. They're just things that have to be done. These are harder to release, but more detrimental to your focusing of your time and energy and what's important to you. So this is a great activity to think about for yourself and your personal being, but I'd like you to do this in a way where you're applying this above the line, below the line to your support groups. And we spoke about things like this earlier today in our roundtable, where it was, you know, what are the silver linings that were found during COVID? What are the things that you're currently doing in your support groups that seem to be important? What do you think is no longer important? You know, this group, it seemed to be important to have some time before support group for chatting and after support group for chatting. So is that something that you do want to keep? Is that something that's important to your group? Is it maybe less important to have refreshments? Maybe that could be below the line and it could be taken off of your page. And then what are these new things that you've sort of learned during COVID that can be brought into your group? Is it gratitude? Is it talking about what you're grateful for? And then how can you do these things and determine what can improve your group's dynamics and interactions and connections? So this practice is really an opportunity to reflect on how you're living your life, how you're running your group, and what things are really important that you want to keep and what things maybe can go by the wayside. For the things that are close to the line, maybe there are things that need to get done, like email trains or phone calls that need to be made that are important, but maybe somebody else can help with that. Maybe you can designate another helper to co-facilitate your group or to volunteer to make those phone calls. That was the last slide. So I think, I don't know if anybody has written anything down on there above the line, below the line, but maybe we can stop sharing.
Sure.
Shannon. I don't know that I can do that on my end. But what do you guys think? What do you think is now maybe above the line that wasn't above the line before? What do you think is important now? Maybe it is that social interaction. Maybe it is meeting outside with people so you could have that human interaction, but socially distanced and in a park. Maybe it's getting those technologically not great people to help them. Maybe there's a volunteer in your community that can help some of these folks get online so you can be meeting again. Just a way for you to sort of rethink and restructure the way you run support groups and in turn the way you live your life. You know, things that were important to us a year and a half ago aren't so important anymore. You know, is it that we have to get out and look our best out in the world? Or is it more meaningful just to be with people and it doesn't matter how you look anymore? So I'd like to hear from anybody in the group that might have struck something to you that you want to share.
I'd like to share a humorous thought.
Sure, we all love that.
Eyeshadow has become much more important than lipstick.
Yes, with your mask. You can't see lipstick.
I just thought of it, so.
Very cute. Harry, did you have something to say too?
You know, one of the absolute biggest joys of my whole life before this whole COVID thing hit was watching my grandkids play softball, volleyball, Little League baseball, and that was robbed from me because you couldn't go to the games anymore. And we're starting to turn around a little bit. And that's one thing that I'm most looking forward to, I think, is because that was just pure joy to me, is being with my grandkids and watching them do what they love to do. So
that's above the line.
That's above the line. And one thing below the line is, I think of my dad, passed away about a month and a half ago, but his big thing was all he ever did was listen to MSNBC. And to me, news happens, and if you hang on it, it's going to bring you down. So I try to think of it just that way. News happens, it's good, it's bad. Don't let it run
Don't get
your
wrapped
life.
up in it.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
I've heard
great.
that. Yeah, as far as news, you know, if you can't, sometimes it's good to know something's happening, but if you can't really affect it in some way, then you don't need to let it in deeply.
It's a bias that kills you. You know, there's nothing goes across anymore that's not biased in some way. And you can really get wrapped up in it.
Absolutely. It's out of control these days. So just to be aware of it and don't fall into the trap. Yes.
Fran?
So for below the line, I'll start there. I started to watch too much TV. I had never watched a reality show before in my life. I can't tell you how many, Netflix things I got hooked on and watched. And every once in a while, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is like ridiculous. Some of them were really good, but it was like, I felt like my whole life was becoming that. So I switched to watching the news for a while. And then I was like, I can't do that. So lately I've been reading and that's above the line. So
Great.
I got a lot of the negative stuff because even the Netflix shows, they're like killing and murders and this, like, I was like, what am I living in? So
You're going down a rabbit hole. Get out.
But it's
great.
understandable how that would happen to people because, that's why those shows do really well.
Yeah, that's why we have like eight different platforms to watch things on. There's a million things and they're all at your fingertips. So it's really important to acknowledge that and back away a little bit. That's great, Fran.
and realize too, the social media thing, that can really suck you in, and yes, just to be conscious of those things. And yes, we can all do better, right? One thing I wanted to mention about the activity above the line, below the line, is that I kind of like to look at it as a scale, so that the very, very top of Perry's paper might be seeing his grandkids play baseball, and then going down the paper toward the line is stuff a little bit, he wants to keep, but not as important, and so forth. And so the very, very bottom of the paper, below the line at the edge of the paper, is what you have to get rid of. And so to use that, the spacing of your paper to kind of rate things as far as really, you want to keep it, or you really want to get rid of it. And so to use that space in that way, I find is very helpful visually. I'm kind of a visual person, so I like to see things like that. Yeah. Does anything else come to mind as far as obvious keeps or get rid ofs for anybody?
You've got to unmute, Marilyn. I just asked you to unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Above the line, I have music. I really like music, and I want to be able to keep enjoying that either by listening to it, reading about it, or doing it myself, or seeing theater, or anything that involves music. That makes me happy, and it makes my dopamine levels go up. So that's up at the top. And then right below that is people, because being a physician, people say, what are your hobbies? I'm saying, you're my hobby. I mean, that's all I've done is be with people. So people are my hobby, and anything to do with them. And then close to the top of the bottom part, top of the bottom line is my mother-in-law. So we talk about sapping energy. But it's a reflection of how you said, Shannon, relationship that sucked the energy out of you. She just sucks. She's not a bad person, but we just don't hit it off, and never have. And it just sucks the energy out of me, and it puts some stress on my husband and myself and her. And there's always somebody like that in your life. So she's just a representation of all those people that stress you out. So
oh, goodness.
She does not give me much dopamine.
Well, that's it. So she can't be completely off the bottom of your page, right, because you still have to interact with her and
right,
be her family.
Right.
But certainly below the line makes you realize, I don't want to waste my energy on her. I'll say hello and be cordial and do what I need to do. But there are people that suck our energy. So be mindful of them.
So I got a dog instead. I got a puppy.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
They're at the top. They're at the top of the page.
Anyone else like to share? Well, hopefully this has been a way to, like Rachel said, just a tool. Start to put some things in order in your life. What's important, I love these little self-exploration activities. Let's see here.
Miriam.
Oh, Miriam. Yeah, I just saw you raised your hand.
Yourself.
I love how, as I'm just formulating so many ideas on how to run a support group and what activities to do and how to interact and how to get people involved. So I think this is fabulous. So thank you.
Absolutely. So glad that some of these things are resonating, and this could go on forever. These are just a few options that you can utilize, and we'll have a lot more ideas tomorrow. And you'll see why.
And also, Shannon, I just want to make note that we're reflecting on our support group But it's also an opportunity to have this be an activity that you do with your support group, that as a group, you can interact and decide the things that you want to keep above the line or below the line within that group itself, and have the folks that are in the group have their input and bring things to the table. So this would be a great opportunity to have an activity together.
Absolutely. Involving more of your group members to participate in a deeper way, which gives them more buy-in, and they feel like they're really part of it, and they're not just, you know, observing. They are actually contributing, which is a much different way of interaction. So that's a great point. And so, yes, it's something that I need to remember, is that all these things that we do with you here in this forum, you can take them, morph them, use them with your groups in your own unique ways. And so it's just kind of an interesting, it's like a very meta experience that we're having. So you utilize these things with your groups. All right, everyone, we have almost gone for 3 hours. So we're doing pretty well. I think that unless anyone has any questions or comments, that we could maybe end 10 minutes early. Get started on our evenings. Does that sound good? Marilyn, I see your hand.
Is there any way at the end of the session today or tomorrow, if any of us want to get together and you can share their email addresses? I know it's hard to do with, you know, whatever you call it, HIPAA type stuff, but you know, we've met new friends, we shared thoughts, and this is a group in and of itself. And I mean, I'm interested in talking to John and Laura about opening their business. I'm like, oh, I want to talk to them. I could do that, you know. And I want to talk to Sheila about her group in Tucson. So I feel like John, I know we're old buddies, you know, but there's new people here, and I didn't know if you did things like that or we're going to plan to do that, or it's a new idea.
Thank you for bringing that up. We don't do that automatically. So if it's requested, that is something that I can absolutely facilitate. And Perry, he's all about it.
He's excited.
He just threw his email into the chat for everybody to have. So what I can do is say, when I send out all of the materials, I'll say, let me know if you do not want to be on the list. And then if I don't hear back from you, then that means I'm going to put your email on that list. But we have to agree, of course, not to spam each other. You know, we have to be very respectful of communication and all of that, as we would with our support group members too. So you can let me know if you do not want to be on that email list. All right. Okie dokie, everyone. Well, this has been a great session, I feel like. I hope you've learned some things, and you can chew on some more things, and we'll throw in, you know, more bites tomorrow, and continue the conversation. Yes. All righty. Well, have
Thank you guys all for showing up and being here, and looking forward to our session tomorrow and getting to know each other better.
Thank
yes.
you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you guys, everybody. Have a great night.
See you in the morning.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Have
Take
good
care.
nutritional food for dinner.
Ah, rats.
Or don't, but enjoy it.
That's good.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Rachel?